it's almost a new month. Can you believe that? Wow. It's almost June, and which means a new theme. And the theme the month of June is fundamental to our teachings in New Thought. We put a great deal of emphasis on what is occurring between our ears, and rightfully so. We know that what occurs in our minds informs everything in our lives, from our relationship with the divine, to our relationship with ourselves, to our relationship with others, to our relationship with work, with money, with play, with health. And the list goes on and on. What is between the real estate, between the ears, is where that all takes place. Of course, we know the mind isn't just here. We feed into that infinite mind, because there is the universal mind and the collective mind. So it occurred to me that it would be wise for us to give some focused attention to that valuable real estate. So all month, we will spend most of the month minding our mind. We're going to mind our mind, yes. To set the tone for today, I wanted to share a quote from Holmes. Not Ernest, not Sherlock, but there are more than one. The former Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., who once said, "A mind that is stretched can never go back to its old dimensions." So once we go through those experiences that feel so heavy and just so sad lots of times, that's the time we look for the good in that, because that's the stretching. That's the stretching. You know, not when everything is going comfortable and beautiful and copacetic, but when we're going through things in life, we look for the good. We're stretching. And I clearly remember the first time that I walked into a Science of Mind spiritual center, and it was different from what I had ever heard before. It was, God is not a man, which I kind of didn't believe, but this teaching gave credibility to what I was feeling intuitively, that there was an essence within each and every one of us. And I was never taught that in Catholic school, of course, but rather I heard this for the first time in these teachings. That all life, that creative impulse behind all things, the very essence of love, and everything that is, was, or ever shall be, comes out of this divine energy that we call God, that we call love, intelligence. We can call it what we like, but it's there. We made up the word, remember that. We made up the word to try to describe the indescribable, the creator of all life. And you and I are all God-informed, God expressing in and through and as us. And that was absolutely mind-blowing to read Ernest Holmes and to discover that, because it just put into words what I was feeling intuitively and so much more. A way to live life that made sense. Because if something doesn't make sense, I can't do it. I don't know about you, but it's got to feel like it makes sense. And that's the intuition. That's our God self flowing in and through and to us. It is our intention all of June to blow our minds, to blow your minds in such a way that will allow it to stretch a little further, and perhaps more insights come through, because they're always coming through when we're open and receptive to them. And so I want to read and unpack a powerful passage by Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind. And the first part of it might seem quite obvious, and you probably will agree with it. However, there is a second part that it might stir up things, and if it does, that's good, because that's stuff to be healed, that's stuff coming up for clearing. So that's about expansion. We talk about expansion. Expanding the way we show up in the world, the way we think, the different ideas. It never stops. You know, we take all of these. I've been in class since 1992. 93, I started class. And I don't think I've ever gone without being in class because I love it so much, and I'm always learning. Always learning more and more, and we all are. But we have to be open and receptive. So I want to read this. This is on page 395 of The Science of Mind. I love this one. As God makes the world and peoples them with living things, so our thought makes our world and peoples it with our experiences. By the activity of our thought, things come into our life, and we are limited only because we have not known the truth. So it's always going to be our thinking. And as Ernest Holmes says so frequently, change your thinking, change your life. If you don't like what's going on in your life, it's time to look at what am I thinking? Because that is where the gem of true reality resides. And it's so important, it's so powerful to get our minds wrapped around the concept, really wrapped around it, not just a bunch of words, but really believing it with our soul, with our heart, that we are one in this infinite life, that we can never be separated from it. If we're not informed, but we're still alive. And that to me is so comforting. And to remember, I create my own reality. That's important. And I love this wisdom from Charles Fillmore in The Atom Smashing Power of Mind. We did a lot of that in the last few months. He writes this: to be ignorant of mind, and that means the whole thought process, everything, and its laws, is to be a child playing with fire, or a man manipulating powerful chemicals without knowing their relationship to one another. This is universally true, and all who are not learning about mind are in like danger, because all are dealing with the great cause from which springs forth all the conditions that appear in the lives of men and women. Mind, and that means thoughts. Mind is the one reservoir from which we draw all that we make up into our world, and it is through the laws of mind that we form our lives. And we know this. We know that our thinking goes into the law of God, the substance, the infinite. I mean, if you don't know this, then you got to take foundation class in the fall. The substance that is neutral, that is God. God is love and law, and the law is the do part. It takes what is thought and brings it in some form, not exactly, because otherwise we would be manifesting lots of stuff we wouldn't want to be experiencing. So remember, we got to go through our subconscious, through the collective subconscious, but when you have the power of belief with the thought, you will manifest so much clearly, faster, and perfectly for ourselves. But we must be aware. See, that's it. Otherwise, we're manifesting miserable conditions over and over again in our lives. So, to continue the Holmes quote, we have thought that outside things controlled us, when all the time we have had that within, which could have changed everything and given us freedom from bondage. Jesus said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." But we have to really know what it even means, the truth. And here's the next sentence, which might be a bit uncomfortable to some, I don't know, not to me. We automatically attract to ourselves just what we are and what we think we are. And we may set it down that wherever we are, however intolerable the situation may be, we are just where we belong. And that is to accept that in no matter what condition we're in, because life is ups, downs, ins, outs, it's all of that stuff. It's not just a bland blip that goes straight across. It's experiences, and looking for the good in every experience even though it doesn't feel like there is any. There is, and it will be revealed when we hold that truth. And that can feel kind of cold. Like, I didn't create this. What are you talking about? But it's in our experience. We have a choice. And it's either a cold statement or it's a profound truth. That wherever we find ourselves to be is not only a reality we create, but also perfect for us in that moment. Because we created it somehow, some way. We created it so that we might be a springboard for something greater. There's always something greater. This or something greater. The divine operates by creating this and greater, because it's always becoming. And that is the truth of our essence. We are all becoming more of, becoming more aware, just accepting the good of the divine. A child once described gravity as God at the center of the earth who keeps people right side up when the world is upside down. If something seems to be happening that might argue this point, it is but consciousness expressing everything. And that is part of our experience. And part of our experience is that we have created that experience so that we can learn more truth. Truth is in every single experience that we are in. We show up. Be that beneficial presence when you show up. That's what it means to be your God self and to hold that center when others can't. And remember, because God, the changeless good, is always there, then peace, joy, abundance, light, love, harmony, all those great qualities are always present. You might not feel them, but they're always there. That comforts me so greatly to know that no matter what I'm going through, that within me is that changeless good that cannot be harmed, altered, damaged, or destroyed in any way. That is so comforting to believe that. If only God, the changeless God, is always there, then we can walk through those moments. We can walk through them, even the intolerable ones, with peace, knowing that they of themselves are nothing. They of themselves are nothing. They, meaning the steps our feet found are hard, can be hard to take, but the things our faith found hard to meet. They, if we would but see it, are just, well, these circumstances are just a facade that we have invited in so that something greater can be experienced and expressed in and through our lives individually or collectively. Breathe that in. What we know is that it is often, most of the time, a breakdown before there can be a breakthrough. And the bigger the breakdown, the greater the possibility for a dramatic breakthrough. Not always fun, but it's your choice. How do I respond to this situation? How do I respond in this circumstance? It's there anyway, and it's not real, even though it feels real. If it passes, it's temporary. The only reality there is that we are God-inspired beings of light. That is the true reality. Author and futurist Barbara Marx Hubbard speaks of challenges/problems as evolutionary drivers, and says that crisis precedes transformation. You'll remember that crisis precedes transformation. And then Esther Hicks, with her Abraham work, says that today we are standing on the threshold of transformation. Every single circumstance in our life can be, if we're open, a transformation within us to bring us to those qualities, more in touch with them. They're already present, but we might not be in touch with them. That's what awareness gifts us with, to feel the peace, to feel the love, to feel the joy, to live life as best we can. And the question is, what do we do about it? So we can illustrate that with that question with an answer. A father needed to choose to which of his 3 children he would leave his business. So he decided to give them each a challenge. He told them that whoever could fill the warehouse for the least amount of money would inherit the business. The eldest child brought sand, a pretty inexpensive way to fill the warehouse, and the father thought that child could probably inherit this business. But the second bested him by filling it with foam peanuts, even less expensive. And the father thought, surely he's going to inherit this business. But the third child surprised them all by lighting 1 candle, which filled the room with light. We can be the light in this world, and this world needs our light. So it is our responsibility, if we choose it, to show up as the light, not as the fear, the dark, but as the light. It is our job in the world today to turn on that light. And we do that by realizing, and this is from the Course in the Course of Miracles. So the Course of Miracles says this: nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So powerful. If we can get our bloated nothingness out of the way. I can't get Emerson out of my head. I can't get it. Page 301 of The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes writes this: remember, God is the silent power behind all things, always ready to pour into our experiences that which we need. We must have a receptive and positive faith in the evidence of things not seen with the physical eye, but which are eternal in the heavens. All is mind, and we must provide a receptive avenue for it as it passes out through us into an outer expression of our affairs. This is Holmes. If we allow the world's opinion to control our thinking, then that will be our demonstration. If, on the other hand, we rise superior to the world, we shall create a new pattern. And if the old patterns, and you know what patterns are in your life, they keep repeating themselves, so it's what makes them a pattern. So if that old pattern is not serving us, we have the power to change the pattern, to create a new one. So we're going to kind of maybe create a new pattern here this morning and create it for our nation, for this world, for this planet. So theoretically, it's time, I'm going to give you a question thing here. Theoretically, it's time to elect a new leader, world leader, and your vote counts. Here are some facts about the... That was God. God was saying yes. Yes, Margaret, continue. So here's some facts about the 3 leading candidates, okay? Candidate A associates with crooked politicians and consults with astrologists. He's had 2 mistresses. He also chain smokes and drinks 8 to 10 martinis a day. Candidate B was kicked out of office twice, sleeps until noon, used opium in college, and drinks about a quart of whiskey every evening. These are all true. Candidate C is a decorated war hero. He's a vegetarian. He doesn't smoke. And he drinks an occasional beer, and hasn't had any extramarital affairs. So which of these candidates, in your concept, your choice, which one would be the choice? A, B, or C?
A.
I'm going to name them for you. These are real people. It's interesting. Candidate A is Franklin A. Roosevelt.
Thank you. Thank you.
B is Winston Churchill. C is Adolf Hitler. It's a matter of perception. Is it not a matter? We think we know. We judge by the book cover, don't we? That's what we do. Things are not always as they seem.
That's right.
There is good for you in everything. There is good for you in everything because God is in everything. Find the good and you find the God that you're searching for. Look for the good. Look for the good. As a nation, as a world, we are at a turning point. We have been for some time. An important breakthrough moment. And we can impact that by where we put our attention and our focus. And all of these horrible things that we believe are happening, or we can focus on all of the stuff that is happening in the world if you watch the news, which I don't, but I still see, because the media gets you one way or another. And that's okay. Or you can focus on the good. That which is real. That which is changeless. Presidents change. People, the inherent essence within everyone is changeless, cannot change. And I always say, thank you, God, for that gift, because we would manage to screw it up if we could get our little minds and thoughts around it, but we cannot. That occurs within us during these troubled times. That is where the real gift is found. When we can turn within and find some avenue of holding whatever is going on and really holding the good, holding the peace, if you can't see good. You know, there are times where we can't even say there's no good here. But there is peace. There's always going to be peace within us. So are you really ready to stretch your mind? And if you are, it's to really get in touch with that peace within yourself, no matter what takes place in our world. It doesn't mean that you don't take action. It doesn't mean that, because some people are activists, and that's fine, as long as they're doing it centered in peace within themselves, because that's the peace is the transformational part of the whole thing. When you are inspired to take that action, take it, by all means. What it means is that we stretch our minds so that even when it seems like there is an injustice occurring, we can hold the peace within the center of our being. And it's not always easy. It's not always easy. That's our task. That's stretching. That's stretching our thinking. When it is not for the highest and best good for us and others, we show up, if we choose, as a beneficial presence. It radiates out. It radiates out. It affects all those around us. Peace and love will always start within each and every one of us. It can't start anywhere else. So on this Memorial Day, let us deeply be grateful for those whose lives were lost or injured, so that we could live our lives in freedom. I don't believe in war. I don't believe in war. But it seems to be a part of human civilization from what I can see. But I believe in the dedication of those people who believed it was an honorable act to serve in any form of military in this country, and in any country, actually. They believed they were doing what is the highest and best good for our country and for themselves. I honor that. So I invite each of us to stretch our way of thinking and to be the peace, to show the love, not to judge only by appearances like those 3 candidates I just gave you. It might take some practice, and it does, to let go of resentment and judgment. But the other alternative is to live in an experience of fear and resentment. And I don't want to live in that. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live, and that's why I don't discuss political candidates. I don't want to live in anger and fear and in resentment. I want to be the peace. I want to be the peace. And the other alternative is to live in that chaos. So let us show up, showing kindness, gratitude, compassion, first to ourselves, and then to all with whom we come in contact. This way of life and of living is an ongoing stretching of our minds and our hearts. There's not a point where it stops. And so I invite all of us to stretch, to be the peace, to be the love, to be the abundance, to be the joy, to be all the good of God. And in this closing of this talk this morning, I do want to dedicate the whole talk to 2 people who passed away this week. One of them is my friend's husband, so it's Reverend Dr. Lonnie Whittington, Reverend Michelle Whittington's husband, passed this week.
Wow.
And I'd like to dedicate, especially today, this Memorial Day weekend, to Corporal Eric Brian Pry. Now, he is an incredible second son to our dear Sue Fady. So I say thank you, God, thank you, life, and God bless everybody.